Hey, yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to the Generational Beef Podcast. I'm your host, Tristan Terrell, as well as my dad,
Noel Terrell, Generational Beef.
Yeah. Took a week off. We gave you 2 episodes the week before, so we decided, we're going to take a little week off. Had some traveling going on, all that kind of stuff. Kind of got in the way. But now we've got all the first round series done, so we can recap those, preview the second rounds, make some adjusted predictions. And we've got some fun stuff in store for you, so this is going to be a fun episode. Let's just get right into it. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to give you our we're only going to do one team, but we're going to do an All-NBA team for the first round of the playoffs. I think I'll start off. I'll give my first guy, and I feel like this is a given. It shouldn't be hard. Shea Avante is on the All-NBA team for the playoffs in the first round.
I mean, he's the leading scorer in the first round, on the best team in the first round, and we swept. So
yeah, only team that swept. Yeah. I'll let
third
you
year in a row in the first round.
Yeah, Mark Daigneault has never lost a first round playoff game ever.
Which
so
is kind of nuts
for now. But hopefully at some point he loses a game in the first round, because that means that we get to enough of them that inevitably you end up losing one. But yeah, anyway, we can keep it rolling for now. Who is your next guy?
It's tough because outside of us and the Spurs, I suppose, all the other top seeds went way too far into this, especially in the East, right? I'm going to pick this person out of the first round. I don't like it because he didn't play every game. But I'm going to go with the best player on the second best team in the first round, which was Wemby.
Yeah, I hard disagree. Wemby was not on my team. Part of it was
I don't like it because he missed a game.
He missed a game and a half.
What did he score in that first game?
35.
Yeah, I mean, he set the tone in that first game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Him to come out and have that kind of game in the first game, and I don't dislike Wemby at all. I think he's a generational possible talent. I have my concerns with him still. We'll talk about a little bit of him later, but it doesn't change the fact he set the tone for that team. He played tough. He had fire. We know what he's capable of. I know he didn't do it in every game, but he's the best player on the second best team in the first round.
I do tend to agree with most of what you said. He obviously is their best player. They, at least results-wise, performed the second best of any team in the West. They were, in the league, they were the only team to win in 5. So that's understandable. My only setback.
Give the Trailblazers some credit. They were scrappy in that.
Yeah,
series.
Sure. My only thing.
Still got it done.
My only thing there is that of the 5 games, he missed a game and a half, so that obviously is taken into account.
It's fair.
And as well as, more importantly, I believe they would have won this series without him. Obviously, it gets tougher, closer. It might go 6 or maybe even 7. Who knows? But I believe they would win the series without him. The Blazers, while they fought really hard, they just don't match up. With
like
I
said, the other reason I'm picking him is every other superstar, especially in the East, sort of underperformed for parts of the series.
Can see what you're saying, but I also disagree to some extent. So I guess I'll get there. He's actually the last name on my list, but he does make my list. And based on what you're saying, I'm assuming
if he makes your list and he's on your list, then it doesn't matter the order.
Right. But he was like the last one I was kind of tossing up. So I would assume with what you're saying, he's probably not on yours. My next guy is Cade Cunningham, right? Yes, they did go 7.
I mean, look, he's definitely on my list.
Okay. All right.
I mean, he's number 2 in scoring in the first round.
Well,
behind only Shea.
Yeah, he averaged, I think it was 32.5 or something like that.
32.4.
Yeah, and then 7.5 assists, 6 boards, something to that effect. And the story of the first round for the Pistons really was they got exposed in every way that we expected them to get exposed, which is that they have no secondary creation behind Shea. They just did it around probably earlier than we expected because we didn't expect the Magic to be able to expose them like that, and they did, right? So it's really concerning for their playoff hopes as we get deeper. But with all that being said, the biggest point of that is that the losses and the longevity of that series were not on Cade, right? It was
No, yeah,
everywhere
of course,
after Cade. Cade was
of course.
phenomenal in that series. He was so incredibly good. Um, that being said, as good as he was, like I said, he was my last guy on. And had the Raptors won the series, I would have definitely put Scotty Barnes on it over Cade. And for what it's worth, I don't have any players on my list on my team that lost in the first round, obviously. But I was dangerously close to putting Scotty there anyways. Like
You
he
can't put a
was
losing team on it. You just
maybe,
can't.
maybe, but he was so good. He averaged 25, which is like 7 or so points more than he averages in the regular season. He averaged 25, 8.5 assists a game, which was second among all players in the first round, and like 7 boards. And for the entirety of the game was either on James Harden or Donovan Mitchell. And in the games they won, it was because
Anyway,
both
we're
of
not
them
discussing who didn't make it.
were
So we're
extremely
in agreement
inefficient.
right now. SGA, Cade, and Wemby.
No, not Wemby. I don't have Wemby.
Oh, I thought you said you had him as 5.
No. I said Cade was 5 for me.
Oh,
Like
okay.
he was the last one.
Okay.
But I don't have Wemby. I really wanted to get Scotty there. You just like you said, you play 7 games and you lose 4 of them. You can't get on there. But man, he was so good. He was so good, and he would
I'll
have
tell
made it
you the
over Cade
best
for me if they
single
had won.
quarter performance in the playoffs was Jared Allen in the third quarter for Cleveland. He had a double-double in that quarter. Like, he
Oh, in game
single-handedly.
1 of this, or in game 7 of that series. Yeah,
Yes, because I was watching it on the plane on the way back from
yeah,
Tulsa, and
phenomenal.
he it was an amazing second half, but that third quarter, he took the game over,
Yeah,
which was nuts.
yeah.
Okay,
So I would give.
so I've got 3 people on the board, you have 2, so pick one, then I'll pick one.
Okay. The only guy I have on my list that did not play every game for the team for his team in the first round, um, and part of that was that he still had a winning record in the series when he was on the court, is Joel Embiid. I mean, what he did in the second half of that series was just insane. He's obviously the biggest reason they came back down 3-1, because then he started playing. And especially in game 7, he had like 32, 12, and 8 or something. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was something to that effect. He was so dominant. The Celtics obviously had nothing even remotely to answer him with.
I mean, that's the biggest thing, though.
But to some degree, sure. But you act like he's not an MVP level talent when he's healthy, no matter who he's playing against. So,
When was the last time I saw him play healthy?
I mean, in this series, for the last half of it, healthy enough to play, I guess, is my point.
Derrick Rose was an MVP caliber player his whole career too when he
No,
was
not his
healthy.
whole career. He was for a season, right? And
You're
after
right.
that, he never was again. Joel Embiid, even after all the injuries, when he's on the court, is still an MVP caliber player, right? He is phenomenal, and
He's not on my list, but
the only argument I can see for him not being on your list is just that he didn't play in every game. I think if he had played in every game, it wouldn't have gone 7, right? But that's the only argument. He was so valuable. He's obviously the biggest reason they won that series. They did win a game without him in game 2.
Paul George led the first round in 3-point makes.
I mean, okay, he did.
Led the first round.
He didn't do much other than that, though, is what I'm saying. Like, he
It
averaged
was a
like,
significant number of threes, though.
sure, but
So
he averaged like 15 points a game, right? Like, Joel Embiid was insane, and Paul George was not even their 3rd best player or 4th best player, probably. I mean,
okay, so my 4 is Brunson. Look, it was a struggle, but when you look at the way they broke up open game 6 and then game 7, I've never seen anything like it in a playoff series, much less a game that was in the 7th round. He was just crazy dominant. He's 3rd in the first round in points per game at 27.6. Like, those last 2 games made up for what happened the rest of the series. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Cat. I'm not a huge Cat fan, but his plus minus in the first round was pretty crazy. I think he was number 1 in plus minus in the first round,
I mean, when you
which
win a game by 50, that happens.
yeah, fair enough, but the other guys on that team weren't there.
No,
So
no, sure, sure.
saying he was pretty important in that series. It's hard because he's not a defender, and you know how I feel about that. And I know Brunson's not really a great defender either, but he's one of those guys that definitely makes up for it offensively. So I have Brunson there.
Yeah, Brunson, along with Scotty Barnes, was another one of my really tough cuts. Mostly just because I believe the other guys deserved it more, not that he didn't deserve it. Brunson was phenomenal in that series. Here's my thing. Now I'm concerned because you left, in my mind, Shea is the most deserving player on this list.
Clearly.
The two that I haven't named yet, to me, were 2 and 3. So you left at least one, if not both of them, off your list. And
I still have one left.
I know, but I've got 2 guys left. What I'm saying is you left at least one, if not both of them, off your list, and I don't feel good about that because, like I said, they were
You
my
don't
second.
know if or didn't.
Well, you
I'm
left
giving you
for sure at least one of them because I have 2 left. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
So,
Okay, well, give me your next one, and then
anyways, if not both, and so I don't feel good about that. The next one, the guy that to me is number 2, a value in this entire playoffs
I
so
have
far.
not necessarily put them in order other than Shea.
I didn't say it was in order. I'm saying that
know.
you left somebody off. Anyways.
I know, and you said anyway.
Anyways, if I was ranking them, what I'm saying is if I was ranking them, the guy that to me would be number 2 only behind Shea.
Spit it out. Let's go.
Very obviously, very clearly is Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert, for
That's
what
my number 5 guy.
Okay, cool. So then number 3 you left off, and I think that that's extremely wrong. But anyways, I'll get there in a second. Rudy Gobert, for what it's worth, even when Anthony Edwards was on the court, was the single most impactful, single most valuable, single best player in this series for the Timberwolves. And I'd argue with Anthony Edwards and Nikola Jokic on the court, Rudy Gobert was the best player in this series. He was so good. What he did to Nikola Jokic is something that is very few and far between. I know we can talk about a 6-minute spurt in Game 6 and Game 7, with Caruso on him or whatever. But it's so rare to do something like that to a player like a player like Jokic of that caliber. And again, to your point, we talked about this a little bit last night, did it in Game 1 to Wemby as well. Like, he has been so dominant defensively. I don't care if he was literally the worst offensive player on the planet on the other side of the ball, which he's probably not extremely far from it, although he did have 17 in Game 1, even though they lost that game. What he does defensively is insane, and what he did to Jokic for that whole series is something that I've just never seen before for a full 6 games. Like, he was, other than Game 4, I think it was, that Nikola Jokic was really, really good. Other than that, he has been so incredibly impactful. And when you lose Anthony Edwards for 2 games in that series, and then Ayo Dosunmu steps up and scores 43, and then after that you lose him, and you also lose Dante DiVincenzo in the series. Like, you're down your top 3 guards. Mike Conley played in 51 games and only started 15 of them this season. And in the games he played, he averaged 18.5 minutes a game. And yet he started their closeout game. Like, that's how down bad they were. And it didn't matter because Rudy Gobert was on the court and he was their stopgap, and it was phenomenal.
I agree. I think it's interesting for a couple of reasons, though. First, obviously, I can't stand Rudy Gobert. I've never.
Me either. I'm not a Gobert fan, obviously, but you got to respect the game.
Offensively, a lot of times he's a bit of a liability, but he's an elite defensive player. He just is. That's a fact. I don't know that I've ever seen him play a playoff series as dominant as what we just saw.
Absolutely. I mean, it was definitely the best 6-game stretch of his career.
But it's weird for a couple of reasons. The first reason, it's clear. Look, this series, I think it doesn't discount everything Jokic has done, but this is a black mark. You lose the best 2 offensive players on the other team, and you can't pull that series out. And
not the best 2, but 2 of them. Anthony Edwards, obviously, number 1.
And Ant is the heart of that team.
Yeah.
Like, you ripped it out He showed it last night how tough he is, right? And so he's not in that game. DiVincenzo's out of the game, and Jokic can't bring that team to a win when they were the overall third seed all season. So I think that makes it strange. The other thing too is, and let's just full transparency here, Jokic has been considered the top player in the league for the better part of the last 7 years. I think Shea kind of took that away last year.
Not
If
quite
not
that
this
long,
year.
but like 4 or 5 for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But point I'm making is we're talking about how dominant a performance Gobert had, and I'm not going to take it away from him. Jokic still had more assists, more rebounds, all of those things in the first round.
You can talk
He
PRA,
did.
but that doesn't matter. It doesn't
No,
matter.
I know. I already said I agree.
Just like Luka,
The
even when
point
you have a
where it
bad
is-
game, Luka's going to be borderline a triple-double every game, even when he has a bad game. You know what I mean?
I
The
know,
same
but
thing
you
with
make a
Jokic.
massive sense, which is what happened with Jokic.
Right,
Which
that's
is
what
what
I'm
we
saying.
did to Jokic in that series last year.
Absolutely.
So I just think it's deserving. And I was on the fence, and I know this is about the first round. I was on the fence until what he did last night.
That's fair. That's, I mean, and like I said,
I couldn't help but think about that last night.
He's continuing what he did in the first round, and so far, game 1 looked very good for him for the defense. Right, it was an ugly win. They had to go scrape it out, but it worked. And I mean, Julian Champagnie at the buzzer had a wide open 3. That if he goes down, we're talking about it probably slightly differently, because now you're like, you had that level of a performance offensively from Wemby and still lost, but they squeaked by with a win. So a win's a win. And at the end of the day, you're up 1-0. So, and you've got home court. So
All right, who's your last player?
It's tough. It's tough. I am curious. You said that Rudy Gobert just barely snuck on for you. So who else were you considering if it wasn't Rudy Gobert?
I was considering Maxey.
I mean,
he and Joel basically averaged the same amount. I think Maxey was 25.1 and Embiid was 25.2. Like, it was literally the same. But Maxey's been there all year. He's had a great season. He was still a big part of what happened in this playoff series. So Maxey was right there for me as well. Cat was right there, as much as I don't like that, just because of what his plus minus was in the first round. And I mean, he had a really good first round. Can't take it away from him.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
There was only one team in the first round that played the entire first round without their best player. And LeBron James is 41 years old and was the best player for 6 games. Like, no, stop.
He wasn't the best player for 2 games.
He was the best player on... No.
Okay.
For 6 games, he was the best player on the court.
Stop. I gave him credit for game 1 and game 2 because he gave everything he had at both ends of the court. His offensive efficiency after that was terrible. They should have swept the Rockets. They did not do it. It took them 6 because his offensive efficiency went off the rails. Yes, he's why they won game 1 and game 2, 100%. After that,
he's why they won every game that they won.
He was even more the reason why they went 6 games, because he couldn't keep it up. They had no business losing to that Houston team without KD. That team was terrible.
No, agreed. That team is terrible. Absolutely.
And it took them 6.
But to act like LeBron James wasn't the biggest reason they won that series is absurd.
He won game 1 and game 2. I'll give it to you.
He had 28, 8, and 7 in game 6 to close it out.
What was the shooting percentage? 9 of 20, if I recall.
Huh?
I think it was 9 of 20.
Well, that's 45%, which isn't bad. It was actually worse than that, so you're giving him slightly more credit. It was like 42%. But that's not awful for a game that's inefficient, and it's for everybody, and it's grind.
Anything? It's bad.
Well, they're a solid defensive team. That's something. So they have no offense for what it's worth, but they're a solid defensive team. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that
June was the worst player in the playoffs.
Agreed. Absolutely. I don't think the Lakers are about to go and win a game in this series.
It took them 6.
I don't think the Lakers are about to go win a game in this series, right? Because the Thunder are a dominant basketball team. But to sit here and act like 41-year-old LeBron James didn't play out of his mind in the
In
first
game 1 and
round.
game 2.
No, in the first round. The
No, he did
entirety
not.
of it. Yes. He
No,
was
he didn't.
so good. And for what it's worth, he averaged 8.3 assists per game in the first round, which was third in the league, only behind Jokic and Scotty Barnes, right?
Because he had guys hiding out for a couple of games.
What?
Because of Smart and Kennard.
That's
in
not
game 1
even
and game
true.
2.
No, it's because he's an elite playmaker.
He is, but other guys have to hit the shot for it to be an assist.
Well,
You don't get
obviously,
credit for the
but my
pass.
point is that he was gonna affect it that well either way, is what I'm saying. Like, his playmaking, whether the shot goes in or not, was the assists are not indicative of his playmaking. His playmaking was there either way, but he averaged 23 and a half, 8.5, and 7.5 in the first round for 6 games.
23 and a half doesn't even put him in the top 10 of the top scorers in the playoffs.
I don't care. He was so impactful and so valuable, and he's the only player in the first round that won the series without the best player on the team. I mean, that's it. Just him. He was so good.
Against probably the worst team that was left in the playoffs.
Agreed. Absolutely. They were definitely the worst team in the playoffs.
Six.
Because the team is bad. The Lakers are also a bad team, right? Like, against any other team in the Western Conference playoff field, maybe we're talking, Phoenix and Portland conversations, but against any other team other than those two, the Lakers definitely lose, for sure. Absolutely. So they got lucky that it was the Rockets.
All right, we're obviously never going to agree on it.
For what it's worth, I think they would have beat the Rockets even with Kevin Durant, because their team's just not good. But, for what it's worth, the Lakers obviously got lucky with that. But what he did without Luka, and for most of it without Austin Reeves, is phenomenal. It's mind-boggling to me, the fact that he's still coming out here in his 23rd season and doing what he did. Now, for what it's worth, you're right. The Rockets are terrible. There was literally one game, I think it was game 3 maybe, where Bronny had like 5 or 7 points or something like that and outscored the entire Rockets bench. That's absurd. You can't do that. It was bad. So for what it's worth, I am not crediting the Lakers or LeBron James more than I feel that I should be, because they beat a terrible team, for what it's worth. The Rockets would have lost to any team in the playoffs in the first round.
Yeah, but the fact that they were able to beat the Lakers in 2 games
happens.
Is pathetic.
It happens. My point being, especially when your best player is 41 years old, right? He was so good. That's all I got to say. Like, LeBron absolutely deserves that spot. And
all right. So let's rank the playoff series 8-1.
Getting into our segment, to beef or not to beef?
That is the question.
We've already started a little bit, not much, but let's get into some real beefing, maybe.
Okay. The worst series, the first round, and it's not close, was Lakers-Rockets.
You're absurd.
It was incompetent basketball on the Rockets side.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Incompetent basketball, and still managed to win 2 games, which just showed you at times how bad the Lakers were in this series. And let's not forget, even the first 2 wins in LA, they won by 7 and 9 points. KD played in game 2. It was a terrible series to watch. It was ugly. It was inept. Şengün, they should cut him today. He was the worst player in all of the playoffs this year, and it wasn't close. That game 2, game 3, or was it game 1? I'm trying to remember now. He couldn't, I think it was game 3 when they went back to Houston, because they went up 3-0, right? Yeah, they went up 3-0. They lost that game. Şengün couldn't make a layup. He was terrible. That series was hard to watch. Period. It just was.
For what it's worth, I agree that the series was absolutely hard to watch, but I took a lot into account whenever I'm talking about ranking these series, overall entertainment value, everything like that, I think that obviously your on court play matters a lot. How close each game was versus not close matters a lot. How deep the series went matters a lot. And then also storylines, narratives, that kind of thing that goes into it, I think matters as well. The Rockets play, and then I guess to some degree the Lakers play counteracting it as well. Definitely drags that series down for me quite a bit because it had a potential to be a lot higher than I actually have it, but I don't have them at 8. To me, the only one that's at 8 to me in my mind, because it was a short series, and it had basically no off the court drama at all, anything like that, whatever. No real entertainment value. Most of the games weren't close. Is just Spurs Blazers is 8 to me. I mean, it went 5. They got their 1. Obviously, there's the, I guess, slight
So do you have the
storyline.
Lakers Rockets at 7?
I'll get there. I'm not there yet. I've got
I don't have them there because even though, to your point, the games were close, Wemby was out a game and a half, the Trailblazers played their butts off.
That's
They
fair.
were not inept basketball. They were just not as good of a basketball team as the Spurs.
And I agree to that statement, but I just think that the only even remote slight narrative or
It
storyline.
wasn't hard to watch.
No, agreed. I think that the only remote, even like narrative or storyline in that series, was Wimby's concussion, and that's it, right? And so it just was kind of like what happened, and it was supposed to happen that way, and it was always going to happen that way, and it was just kind of like, like it happened,
I know,
and you're
but I
right,
think we learned. But I think this. I think in the playoffs, you never say, "Well, that's a moral victory of a playoff series" when you lose.
sure,
But I think for them building their team in the future, it was a valuable series for them, and
absolutely,
and they played hard. They kept it close most of the time. I just felt like it was fun to watch a young team like that play the way they did, and have some success. I get they only won a game, but they did have successful moments in the series. It wasn't inept. They played their butts off. I felt like they were well coached in that series. So I actually enjoyed watching the games.
that's fair,
I was never in doubt of who was going to win the series, but it was fun to watch.
that's fair. And then after that, for me, it gets really tough, um, because
I mean, for me, my 7
okay,
is Thunder Suns, just
okay,
because it was never a series. Now, the Thunder did exactly what they should have done in that series, and the Thunder played fantastic. I mean, they were elite. So
yep,
it was good basketball to watch on one side. The other side, and partially this was just our defense. I mean, we took Booker out and made him cry. Um,
yeah,
give Brooks some credit that at least he took advantage of um, Booker taking all the heat, right? He had a couple 30-point games. He was a decent defender in that series. But the reality is, uh, the series was never in jeopardy. It was never in question. There wasn't a game that was in fact, it was funny. Game 4, I was laughing so hard because the commentators were trying so hard. Oh, if they could just get it to 10. And
right,
and it was like 2 minutes left. You're not gonna get any closer than that.
yeah.
And so it was just never in question. So at least you had elite basketball on one side of it, and you had some bright spots on the Spurs side of it. It wasn't in that basketball like the right Rockets Lakers was. And so I make it 7, but only because it was just there was no mystery to that series.
So I also have Thunder Suns in 7. Again, the reason that it was higher to me than Spurs Blazers was because, again, like you said, absolutely elite basketball on one side of it, and also, while the rest of the team not really, but absolutely elite basketball from Dylan Brooks as well, which actually really annoyed me because I hate
Yeah,
him,
he's such a clown,
right?
but
But he played phenomenal basketball in that series, right? Um,
he was really inefficient in game 1.
but again,
But
against the
overall
Thunder defense, you're
overall
going to be
right, but overall, he was the best player for the
absolutely.
Suns in that series,
And
and it wasn't close.
the reason ultimately that I elevate it over um, Spurs Blazers is because of all the noise. I think that it was made it higher entertainment value. all the noise from that series, all the players jarring, all the talk and everything. And ultimately, obviously, it didn't matter. And I think that a lot of it was dumb. But I do think that that added a slight entertainment value and it made it more noteworthy to talk about, I would say. So I've got them in 7. And
So
then,
so I would go 6 was the Spurs.
okay,
Again, just because it was never in question. Again, I don't feel like there was inept basketball on either side ever. Um, you had the Wemby go down, and that added a little bit of drama to it, I guess. But it's to me, it was 6, but it was only because it was never in question.
that's fair. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the biggest reason why I had that one in 8 for me. And then in 6, I actually have the Knicks Hawks series. There were a couple really good games in there, obviously, and so that was really valuable and entertaining. CJ McCollum played great. Obviously, we've talked about Brunson a lot. Brunson played great. So did Cat. And I think had the closeout game not ended up being a 50-point loss for the Hawks, they probably would end up being higher for me than that. But I think that
I mean, that's my 5 for that
yeah, I
reason.
was gonna say
Game
ultimately,
6 and game 7 were terrible.
well, there was no game 7. Um,
I mean,
5 and
5 and
6.
6 were
Yeah,
bad.
absolutely. And I think that that's the biggest reason that it knocks it for me is because I still never really felt that that series was actually in jeopardy for the Knicks.
I knew Brunson was not gonna allow them to win that series,
Yeah.
but it was way closer than it should have been those first 4 games.
I I think so. I agree with you a little bit, but the Hawks are scrappy. They're a good defensive team. They've got Nikhil and Jalen Johnson that played phenomenal for a couple games, and CJ McCollum really played phenomenal for a few games as well. And so I never really felt that it was in question. But had they lost in a closeout game by 5, I would have been like, oh, there was some drama there. But
Yeah.
to say that it was never really in question, right? And then watch them go win the closeout game by 50 on the road, like that's really what dropped it for me. It's just like there were a couple really good games in there that the Hawks won, and so that's why it's up at 6 for me instead.
I
And
mean, they're my
you
5.
said that's your 5. My 5 absolutely plummeted by the inept offense of the Houston Rockets is Rockets Lakers. And the reason it's that high for me is because of what we saw LeBron do in that series. And I get that it wasn't always great, but it was really, really good for most of it. And the fact that you go in without Luka, you go in for most of that without Austin Reeves. And I get Kevin Durant didn't play. I get that team's awful. I get it, right? But just the narrative and the storyline behind it and watching it unfold, as ugly as it was and as much as I wanted to claw my eyes out over the actual gameplay, right? The storyline and the narratives alone would probably have me put it at like 2, but it plummets to 5 because of how actually terrible the basketball was. Like it was bad. It was really bad, and it was ugly, and I hated it. Right, and I'm glad it's over.
You know who I thought Şengün was in that series? Reese. Angel Reese. Except for he couldn't get a rebound.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you're not.
I can't remember a playoff game in my lifetime or a playoff series in my lifetime where an NBA player was that bad.
Yeah, Alpi was really bad in that series. It was bad, and the whole team was. The whole team, like nobody gets an excuse. Nobody gets
I
a
know,
pass.
but no one was close to him.
Right. Even the one game that Kevin Durant played, and obviously he was clearly hurt, and
Well, and
the kitchen sink was thrown at him, obviously, but he had
yes.
9 turnovers in that game, and so even he
Again,
wasn't good.
no. Again, no. I mean, they doubled him at half court every time.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
It was a brilliant strategy by Redick.
But also, for what it's worth, we're talking about this team.
They weren't afraid of anybody else. Obviously.
The Lakers are not a good defensive team, right? But they look like a dominant defense.
But they were putting LeBron and Smart on him.
No, for sure, for sure. But you looked like a dominant defensive team that whole series because of how inept the Rockets offense is. Like it's brutally bad.
If they were playing us in that series, I don't know they score 50 points a game.
I mean, they'd score 50, but on pure volume.
That's how bad they were.
But yeah, I mean, they had a couple games that they scored like low 80s. We definitely could hold them to 70 in a game for sure.
I mean, it was ugly.
Which in 2026 is actually insane. And that's fair.
Okay.
And the basketball itself was brutal.
Yeah. So 4 for me. And this is hard for me to do because this was the series I was most excited about, and it started that way, and then the injuries derailed it. To me, it's Timberwolves Nuggets. I That game I was so excited about because I thought it was going to be great. I expected Denver to win it, but I thought that series was going to be great. But just the injuries alone, taking Ant DiVincenzo out of the game, kind of brought it down because at that point you're thinking, okay, well they're going to lose the series now. They didn't, so that's a good storyline, which is why it's 4 for me and not way lower. But it kind of took all the fire off of that series all of a sudden because it's like, okay, well now you know the Nuggets are going to win. It's not going to be. I mean, they don't have any firepower left, but they did it, and it was impressive. And I, the Spurs are in for a tough series. That's all I'm going to say.
That's why to me, everything you just said to me is why it's not 4. For me, it's higher than that
I love the storyline,
because of
but
everything you said.
yeah,
And for what it's worth, every single one of those games were close. Like a couple, like
yeah,
game 1 and 2 final scores weren't super close because they got blown open. But in both of those games, the Nuggets in game 1 and then the Wolves in game 2, the winning team was at some point in that game down 15 plus in both of those games and then ended up
yeah.
winning by double digits. But like, so all of those games were really, really close, really
It
good,
just when you watch a
highly
series like
contested.
that, you want to see the stars play,
Absolutely.
and so that was disappointing.
Yeah.
And so
And that's
I
fair.
still watched it, but it lost some of the intrigue to me.
And I get it loses some of the luster there. But to me, that's why it's not 4. And it teeters to me between 2 and 3. But we'll get to that in a second. To me, 4 was Pistons Magic. Very similarly, um, to Lakers Rockets, not quite to that level, but a lot of those games were really bad. Like 3 of the games, neither of them scored 100 points. And if it's just really good defense, that's fine. But in a lot of those games, it was just really bad offense outside of Cade and Paolo. Just a lot of really bad offense.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
even
both
in a
teams
lot
were
of
hard.
those games, Paolo was not good either. Right.
I
So
mean, it's we're close on this one. It's my 3.
right.
I agree with you. Of the ones remaining, it was the worst series. You're not wrong that there were some inept offensive moments, but both defenses were playing at a high, not a high level necessarily, but they were really hustling. They were
That's
attempting
fair.
to play good.
And that's fair.
Um,
To me though, kind of like Lakers Rockets, right? Like again, storyline for Lakers Rockets is like 2 to me. But it falls to 5 because of the inept basketball. Same here. The storyline of this series, the 3-1 comeback, all that, an 8 seed almost beating a 1 seed. Like storyline narratives are great, but again, the basketball was just not very good. So I'm going.
I mean, honestly, I thought the Pistons were going to pull it out. I really did. Give the Pistons credit.
You mean the Magic?
In Game 7, yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry,
Yeah,
but give the Pistons credit in Game 7. They said, "Screw this, I'm done messing around," and
yeah.
they got it done.
Well, and it
And it
was
was a pretty
the
big win. So, what was it, 20 plus points? I think.
yeah.
Game,
And they were down. They were down like 18 at half or something like that too, and then came back and won. So
they just said, "Screw this, we're done. This is
yeah,
stupid that this is taking so long."
yeah,
So
for sure.
give them a lot of credit for doing that.
And then they also went and won game 1 today against the Cavs, which I
Well,
did
we'll talk
not.
about that when we do
Yeah.
the round 2 preview picks.
So then for me, 3, I do settle on, just because it did only go 6 games. I do settle on Wolves Nuggets because it only went 6 games. But again, all those games were close. And for the reasons you said, all the storylines, all the narratives, I get it. It hurts the series value a little bit that Ant didn't play in a couple of those games. And you're right. But again, the fact that they still went out and won it, because even though they were up 3-1, I'm sitting here like, as soon as Ant's not playing, I'm like, oh, so the Nuggets, we almost got lucky and they got bounced, and then now they're gonna get lucky and make it out. They're gonna have the 3-1 come back themselves because Ant's not gonna play, DiVincenzo's not gonna play, DeSumu's not gonna play, and then they still lost, right? Like Rudy came out there, played phenomenally. Jaden McDaniels went out there, played phenomenally. Terrence
Conley
Shannon in game 6 had 20 points, like which was his playoff career high.
Conley was clutch in some moments.
Conley played pretty well in the fourth quarter of game 6. Like everybody just went out there and played as well as they possibly could have, and it was insane to watch. So for me, that's why it's 3 over Pistons. Over Pistons Magic.
So 2 for me
I think we might
was
differ here.
Cavs Raptors was 2 for me.
Okay, we do differ here. Why is that one your
Um,
two?
because it wasn't that either. The problem was obviously at a 4-5, there's no real such thing as an upset at 4-5, right? You're talking about teams that were relatively even throughout the regular season.
It definitely would have been an
Obviously,
upset though if the Raptors had won by a
I mean, but the
maybe not seed wise or record wise, but as perceived value of these teams, because
yeah, look, it was a
we talk
good
about the
series.
Raptors like they overachieved in the regular season, and we talk about the Cavs like they way underachieved in the regular season due to like injury and stuff. Like we forget last year this was a team that was a 64 win team, right? And then they got better at the
I don't
deadline because
forget
they
that.
traded for James Harden.
Right. I don't forget that.
Right.
It's two for me, predominantly because it should not necessarily have been this close. But once again, and I hate saying this because I actually like James Harden. I still have an affection for him from, back when he was the sixth man of the year and with the Thunder. He's been an elite, dominant offensive player in his career. But when he gets to the playoffs, he's just a different player. And what I will give him credit for in this series was that he was hustling on defense, right? Like he played pretty decent defense in this series, but his offensive efficiency was just a fraction or a shadow of what he used to be.
But again,
He was still making plays. I think he was close to double digit assists, and things like that. But his scoring, his efficiency while scoring, I just can't explain that sometimes. And so it was a little bit hard for me to watch. I think overall it was a good series. But
yeah, I would say
and okay, so let me finish the thought and then you finish yours. So the reason I had Celtics 76ers at 1
okay.
was that you knew if Embiid was healthy, the Celtics had no answer for that. And they didn't. But the other thing was the storyline in game 7 was significant for me. I don't know that they really ever announced what the Tatum issue was, but a game 7 in a series that you were never even expecting to make the playoffs, or in a season that you weren't expecting to make the playoffs,
Oh,
and
they
for
were
him
going
and
to
the
make the
Knicks to play.
playoffs because the East is weak. Nobody was
I mean, I
expecting them
get
to be the
that, but
2
you weren't
seed.
expecting to be a contender.
Yeah.
You were the 2 seed.
Yeah.
You got a good I mean, you got a good draw in the first round. Not great that, Embiid and George were both back.
You actually got a really
Um,
terrible draw in the first round for what it's worth because of that. Like
I understand
that's
that,
not a real
but
7
for all
seed.
you know, he's gonna play a game and be out.
No, for
But
sure.
here's the thing.
But
What
that
the other thing that was interesting to
healthy
me,
talent-wise, that team is not a 7 seed.
yeah, but look, the other reason that it was interesting, especially in that last game, and again, I'm putting it here more because of the 76ers, less about Boston. The fact that that game, you had three, it just never happened in NBA history. You had three starters on the Celtics not score.
That was absurd.
Brown had 30.
Yeah.
Tatum's in that game. I don't know if they win it, but damn, it's close. And so the storyline, like that whole thing was really strange to me that Tatum didn't play.
I mean, it was a knee injury. They say that ligament something whatever, but here's my thing.
It feels like they just felt like they were going to win because they were back in Boston, so let's let him rest.
I don't
And it
necessarily think
didn't.
so. I think that it probably seems like it was a big enough deal to be concerned about. Is my
The other reason I
uh
have it as 1 is that it went 7 games and the Celtics were my pick to win the East.
That's fair, and I believe that to be true and fair. They were my pick to win the East as well. And they went 7, and there was a 3-1 comeback, obviously. So it's got all the narrative, all the value there. You have Joel Embiid, who if everybody is fully healthy, is probably the second best player in the series behind Jason Tatum. Again, if everybody's fully healthy. And he misses the start, and we don't know if he's actually going to play, and then he comes back and play and is phenomenal, and they come back down 3-1. All that, extremely understood. The reason for me it's at 2 and not 1, the biggest reason, is because Jason Tatum didn't play in Game 7. And if Tatum plays in Game 7 and they win, so the comeback doesn't happen, the underdog doesn't win, whatever, then it's still not 1 for me, because while it was a great series and the narrative got really close to being there, it didn't get there, right? But if he had played in Game 7 and they still lost, then it would have been 1 for me, because then you just beat as close to as fully healthy and full strength as the Celtics would have been, right? Because Tatum still, even when he was playing, wasn't 100%. He was still getting back into it, right? But he was really good in this series for most of it. But that's what puts it at 2 for me, is the fact that he didn't play in Game 7, and then Game 7 really got away from the Celtics. And like you said, they had 3 players because Mazzulla was trying to get creative and throw the Sixers off. And I understand that whenever your back's against the wall and you're trying to make something happen, but you've got 3 players that play in the starting lineup and don't score in Game 7. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, so that's why it's 2 for me. Number 1 for me, Cavs, Raptors. The biggest reason for that is because I forgot the exact number. It was 700, like 48, or I don't remember the exact number, but all the way down to halftime of Game 7, the cumulative score of that series was tied, right? Like the exact number. They went into Game 6, or after Game 6, went into Game 7 having scored the exact same number of points. At that point, I think it was like 669. So it probably wasn't 640 something or 740 something. It was like low sevens. It was like 715 or so. At halftime, they were tied. So through halftime of Game 7, that series was literally even. And yeah, the Cavs kind of went away in the second half. Like you said, Jared Allen was phenomenal in the third quarter, double there. Like, they played really, really well down the stretch. But Scotty Barnes was incredible in that series, really tried his best, guarding James Harden on ball, guarding Donovan Mitchell on ball, and then playing phenomenally on the other end. Really tried his best to do it. The Game 6 is really what puts it over the top for me at number 1. You've got the overtime game with the crazy RJ Barrett shot that bounces up, seems like 15,000 feet in the air, and then goes down. And that hometown kid from Toronto, like, hitting that shot in a, win to stay alive game, win or go home. It's one of those things where that's really what put it over the edge for me at 1. So yeah, that's to beef or not to beef. Got a little bit of a talk of each round in there. Preview, recapped a little bit. Now we can go ahead and preview our second round series here.
So let's start with the easy one here. We'll start with Thunder Lakers. This is over already. The Thunder average margin of victory, although it's a close game right now, the average margin of victory with the Lakers in this season was 29.5 points. 3 of those were with Luka. This series doesn't matter. They may get lucky and pull one out in LA but I don't think so. They're just outmatched.
Agreed.
They're just outmatched.
Absolutely.
I think it's a sweep, but
yeah, probably, most likely.
they might get one.
We're up 4 right now with halfway through the third quarter, so it's interesting, I guess, kind of right now.
It's interesting because offensively tonight we've been very
Vontae.
If our offense was even remotely efficient tonight, this would be a blowout already.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, here's the biggest concern for me for the Lakers, in terms of this series.
Luka, that, of course, Jay is very efficient tonight. He's 70%.
Right. Luka or no Luka, right? The biggest issues for the Lakers, obviously, they're not a good defensive team, so that caps them there, right? We have a very high floor because even if our offense doesn't show up, no matter what, we don't play a bad defensive game, right? There are games where we give up a lot of points because a team might be blazing, shoot the peel off the ball, and there's nothing you can do. You've got a hand up, but they get a look and it goes down.
The other reason
right?
that people sometimes score,
but hold on.
Hold on. The other reason though is we score when our defense is playing at that level. We score so much in the fast break that it lengthens the game, which means there's more possessions, right? So it happens.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what I was going to say. Is that so? Sometimes people will score, but we never play a bad defensive game of basketball, right?
Yeah.
You can play a bad offensive game, and it happens from time to time.
Occasionally, we'll have some stretches in a game where it's not great, but that's rare.
But But my point being is that because the defensive ability is there, you're going to always have that floor where you've got a super high floor. And there are definitely games where the Lakers' ceiling is lower than our floor. And it happens, right? Because they don't have the defensive ability. So if their offense doesn't show up because we shut them down because we're an elite defense, then there's nothing they can do, right? And we can attack them with mismatches all the time, and they can't really do the same thing because everybody on the court's an elite defensive player. And to your point, that was the other point I was going to make, is that the thing that we do better than anything else, better than anyone in the league, is force turnovers. And the thing that the Lakers do a lot of is turn the ball over, especially when Luke is on the court, right? But
They've
in
been
general,
decent tonight. They've been decent tonight.
yeah, yeah. But in general, I mean, they are a very turnover prone team, and so then we're going to take advantage of that. And if we get, they average the most turnovers per game of any team in the first round of the playoffs, which was another reason kind of why that Rocket series was so close for a lot of it. They averaged, I think, like
No, we're taking off now.
17 or so turnovers a game in the first round. And so that was a big deal. Whereas the number two most turnover forced, number two team in the first round with the most turnovers per game was the Suns, because we played that well of defense on them. So
Yep.
we
All right.
force a
We
lot
can
of
stop
turnovers.
talking about this game now because this series doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
and they turn it over a lot, so it hurts them obviously massively. And
Yep.
for what it's worth, we're just a really great basketball team, historic, all time great, and they're not. So
So, Pistons, Cavs. So look,
that's tough.
it's tough because I don't trust either of these teams.
I
I know
disagree.
both of them pulled it out, and I know both of them pulled it out in Game 7 after running away a little bit. I don't trust either one. For the Cavs, I don't know if you knew this or not, there were multiple games in their first round where they averaged, or they had 10 turnovers in the first half.
Yeah.
In the game tonight that they lost to Pistons in Game 1, obviously in Detroit, in the first half they had 10 turnovers again, 3 by Mitchell and 3 by Harden. So, you know, your two ball dominant players, which means you're going to have probably a little more turnovers from now on. You get the ball every time down.
I was gonna say
But
three's not a crazy number actually,
yeah,
but
I don't trust either of these teams. I Because of the youth of the Pistons, I'm picking the Cavs in this series, but it may go 7.
that's fair. I think that, so here's my thing. The reason to me it's tough, right? Because I disagree with you. I do trust one of the teams in the series. Um,
I trust them both to make a bunch of mistakes at some point and lose a game.
I do really trust the Cavs in the series, right? The reason for me right now it's slightly tough is because I have seen Game 1 and they lost, although they are the road team. So it's not like they were at home and then lost home court, right? I'm still picking Cavs in 6 here. I think they're going to win all their home games,
I'm
and they'll
picking
still
Cavs too.
either Game 2 or Game 5. I think they're going to take it in 6. If it goes 7, we can have a conversation. I would still pick the Cavs to win that game, but they've got the more experience. Um, they have games that aren't great, like you said. They've got mistake riddled games sometimes. It's just kind of the player that James Harden is at points. But James Harden, as well as some awful playoff performances, has some pretty phenomenal playoff performances. I mean, it just comes and
And it's
goes.
been a
It's kind of the
while
James
since
Harden experience.
I've seen him play as hard as he's playing right now on both sides.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that comes because this is like, other than like Brooklyn, this is like the only time really of his career where, since he left Oklahoma City, where he's not the primary ball dominant player, and he still is the primary ball dominant player, but it's shared with Donovan Mitchell, right? He's never really had that. Like, he's played with obviously other great players. He played with or he played with Joel Embiid when Joel Embiid won MVP, but obviously James Harden's still the facilitator, just still the perimeter ball dominant guy. Like, that load isn't being taken off of him. But here it is, at least being shared. And so I think that part of that aggression, part of that physicality, and part of what you're talking about, just all that, the play that he's playing at right now, a lot of that is because he has Donovan Mitchell beside him on the other side of the court. So yeah, I'm
So
going to go Cavs in 6 still, I think.
yeah, I'm going Cavs. I think if they do it, it's probably is 6, so they can finish at home. I think it's just the veterans versus the youth, and I think that makes sense.
And
So
again,
the last 2
as we
series
kind of talked about already, the Pistons don't have a secondary creator, whereas that's a big deal for the Cavs that they do have two.
so these other 2 series are the most intriguing to me. We'll start with
Agreed.
Spurs Wolves. Look, here's the thing. I don't wanna have a knee-jerk reaction to game 1. Um, the Spurs look, Wemby was as inefficient. It might have been his worst game of his career from an efficiency standpoint. He was really bad offensively. Obviously, he was elite defensively. Not gonna argue that. Was it a record in a playoff game in
It
a
was a
quarter
record
for
in a playoff game.
um so all of those things are true. They still had an opportunity to hit that shot at the end to take the win. So I don't want to have a knee jerk reaction to the game 1. However, what I will say is this. If Wemby just shoots, he hits 2 of the 8 3-pointers, then they win
Right.
by 6. So
I mean,
I don't think
mathematically, if he hits one of them, they win by a point, right?
fair. But I guess my point here is I'm still going to pick the Spurs. I'm not trying to disrespect the Timberwolves, although it feels that way a little bit because I didn't think they had a chance at all I didn't think they were going to beat the Nuggets.
Agreed.
Um, but part of that's just because they were just not very good in the regular season. Now I know I said that you can never discount Ant in the playoffs, but then he went out and they still got to the series, and he played limited minutes in game 1 and they still won.
And for what it's
Now
worth, that fourth quarter by him, he had 11 points in the fourth quarter of his
it
20,
was
and
crazy when he came back in.
phenomenal.
But look, here's the key to me. Was game 1 from Wemby a fluke because of Gobert? Or I'm sorry, was it a fluke or was it because of Gobert? Because if it's because of Gobert, this series, I, I don't know. I'm still going to pick the Spurs in this series. And I'm picking them because I'm not going to have a knee jerk reaction to one game when one team this season has been clearly better than the other.
Okay.
And it's not close. So hold on. So I'm still going to pick the Spurs. Could go 7. They'll have home. They are the younger team. Obviously, Timberwolves have a lot of playoff experience at this point. But the Spurs team is a little different. Wemby is different. The question I think we will answer in game 2, because I'm making an assumption when I'm picking the Spurs here, that this offensive output by Wemby in game 1 is a fluke. Not that Gobert doesn't play great defense, but he still has like 5 inches on the guy. So I'm going to make an assumption
Like 3,
right
but
now. Anyway, I'm going to make an assumption right now that this is a fluke, that Wemby is not going to have another shooting night like that. And if that's true, then I think the Spurs definitely win this series. If he has another super efficient night in game 2, even if it's close and the Spurs still pull out a win, then I may have a different opinion but I'm not going to overreact because they still had a chance to win at the end. It just didn't fall.
so here's what I'm going to say. To both of those points, I think you could knee-jerk reaction overreact both ways, right? I think that
Sure.
you
Yeah.
could have
But I'm going to go with the team that's been better all year.
Sure. I think you could have the knee-jerk reaction like, oh my gosh, look at what just happened in game 1. The Wolves came in there. Look what they did to Wemby. Look what everything happened, yada, whatever. They're going to win the series. That's a knee-jerk reaction, right? Other knee-jerk reaction also is that holy crap, the Timberwolves better be scared because, like we said, they had a chance, a good look at the end of the game to win. The Spurs did, despite the Wemby game, right? So that's other knee-jerk reaction that, if they get it right in game 2, that the series isn't close the other direction, right? I don't think either of those are true. I'm picking the Spurs in 7 right now. But I think that it's a combination of both. It was a fluke, but also it
It's
was
definitely
partial.
going to go 6. There's no way that Timberwolves don't get at least one of theirs at home.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a fluke, but it also was because of Gobert. So here's the thing. Here's what they did really well defensively, and what led to a lot of it was that they were denying Wemby in the post. They didn't let him get to his spots down low to make things happen, because after he gets the ball at that point, I don't care how good of a defensive player you are, he's going to be efficient and he's going to score a lot of the time. It's going to work, right? He just does.
I will, yeah.
But they denied him really well in the post. So then what happens is he ends up levitating outwards, right? and so he's taking deeper mid-range shots. He's taking 3-point shots. Like we said, he had 8 threes, right? I would say 5 of those were wide open, right? A couple of them were contested a little bit, but like 5 of his 8 threes were wide open. And that's the part where it becomes a fluke. Like, yes, that was their game plan. Yes, at the end of the day, even if he makes it, that's the shot you want him taking. You don't want him in the post, right? However, it's fluky from the standpoint of he's not going to go 0 of 8 again, right? He did in that game. He did, right? And he's not going to go 0 of 8 again. And again, mathematically, if he hits 1, they win. But, that's not necessarily how things work. If he hits 1 earlier, who
That's
knows
why I
what
said if
happens the
he
rest
hits
of the
2,
game.
they're pretty
But right,
likely to
right. But
win.
that's what I was going to say. If he hits 2 or even 3, which is still below, on 8 attempts, is still below, what he shoots on average. If he hits 2 or 3 of them, then they win this game, right? So my point being that it was intentional defensively and really good by the Wolves, but then also was kind of fluky. So I'm not
I think we'll know
overreacting.
more
Huh?
after game. We'll
Yeah,
know
yeah,
more
yeah, yeah,
after game.
for sure. I'm not going to overreact like crazy. I still am going to go Spurs in 7. Um, like I said, there's ways to easily overreact on both sides, but
There's one other thing that if I'm a Spurs fan, I'm keeping my eye on. Okay. I think the one impact, whether it was a fluky performance or not, one impact Gobert definitely had, to your point, by denying him the post, is he was wearing down Wemby that entire game.
yeah,
I hold on. So I don't know if you knew this or not. That was the third most minutes he's ever played in a game last night. Ever. He looked gassed at the end. So I will say this. The other piece of this too wasn't just that he played a lot of minutes and that he looked a little gassed at the end, and it was the third most minutes he's ever played in an NBA game. The other thing that I would be concerned about, or at least keep an eye on if I were a Spurs fan, he took a lot of hard falls last night. A lot. Like, he's probably not used to taking that many hard hits in a game. Um, Look, he was durable. He popped up every time. He didn't lay around. I give him a lot of credit for that. Um, but I would be at least a little concerned if he's going to have to play that 40 minutes a game throughout this series and take a beating. It would be something I'd have my eyes on if I were a Spurs fan.
sure, but none of his injuries in his career, other than the concussion in round 1, have ever had anything to do with the amount that he plays, like getting worn down, and
We
or
don't know because he doesn't. He didn't even average 30 minutes a game during
But
the regular
but
season.
my point being that none of them were like, oh, he's worn down, his body like what fatigued, whatever. None of them were related to anything like that, or hard falls or hard hits, other than the concussion, obviously. But again, that's still kind of that was kind of a fluky play too. My point being, like, he had blood clots in his second year, and then he had like the shoulder injury. Was that this year? I can't remember. But anyways, point being that, like, they were kind of like one-off fluky injuries that had nothing really to do with like how physically he was being played or anything like that. But I understand your point. And
Okay.
obviously, just naturally getting deeper into the playoffs, you're going to start playing more minutes. And yes, he doesn't typically play a ton of minutes, so it is interesting to look at that point that that's the third most minutes he's ever played. But that's going to become more normal and more regular. And I think that as each game goes on, he gets more used to that and then looks less gassed at the end because you're just gearing up for it. But anyways,
All right. Next 76ers.
this is so tough. It's so hard to call.
Look, right now it's hard not to be tainted by game 1.
Maybe, but again,
It was never. It was tied at half, but once we got into the third quarter, that game was never in question.
yeah,
The
it was
Knicks
never.
just it was never in question after that.
Yeah,
Obviously, the Knicks have home court here. Um, I love what the 76ers did in the first round. I like Paul George. I know I give Embiid a bunch of crap. I like Joel Embiid, right? But there were injury concerns coming out of college, and that just happened to plague his career.
yeah,
He's set out more games than he's played now, which is
yeah.
kind of nuts to think about because that's a lot of games. He's played over 490 games. Well, he's set out more than that now, and so I I would love. Look, I will say this: let's not overreact to game 1. right?
Okay.
Although the Knicks were better than them all year, but there was a long stretch they didn't have Paul George, and there were obviously a lot of games they didn't have Embiid. They have them both back and healthy right now in the moment.
Healthy as they're ever going to be.
Right. It, this is tough because I have a high degree of respect for Brunson. He is one of those guys. He has the dog in him. He can step up in big moments. We've seen it time after time after time. Like, outside of Shea, to me, it's him and Ant. Those are the guys that are up there. Tatum when he's healthy. Even Halliburton showed flashes that, my big concern about Halliburton always is when they needed him to be offensive. Like, why didn't you just do it all the time? But that's not this discussion. So it's hard for me to pick against the Knicks because they were the better team all year. But the team that they're playing right now isn't the team they played all year. Right?
Yeah.
Meaning, not that the Knicks played, but this isn't the roster that the 76ers were playing with all year.
Well,
If
and
they had been
that's what I
playing with this roster healthy, they probably wouldn't be the 7th seed.
that's what I
So,
said whenever we were talking about the first round between the Celtics and the Sixers, is that they are a fake 7 seed, obviously. I mean, like,
yeah.
the Paul
So,
George suspension, the Joel Embiid injuries, all that kind of stuff. Like,
if the 76ers can win this series, I think they have to do it in 6. I don't think they go into MSG and win a game 7.
I would have said
So,
that about Boston,
I'm going to
with
go,
or
I
without
know,
Tatum.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I don't like it. I'm going to pick the 76ers in 6.
It's tough. It's tough.
Cat can't stop Embiid. Look, I get
I
what we're in
know.
game 1.
That's okay. So that's what holds me up right now. Is it's really like, we know what we're gonna get from Brunson. We know what we're gonna get from
Paul George
Maxey.
is on fire from 3 right now.
We know.
Maxey's had a great year. This is just not the team that played all season, so
Yeah.
that's what makes it difficult.
And the
Like
question to me really becomes down.
Like in the Spurs series, it's easy for me to still really pick the Spurs because all season, roster to roster, the Spurs were just better.
Yeah.
And the Timberwolves are still not at full strength, and Ant's still not at full strength.
Right.
So it's easy for me to go ahead and still say the Spurs and not have a knee-jerk reaction to number 1. You could make that same argument for that series, except for this isn't the team the 76ers rolled out all year.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it comes down to 2 questions in the series, because we know what we're gonna get most of the time from Brunson. We know what we're gonna get from Maxey. We know what we're gonna get from Cat. We know what, on average, what we're gonna get from all these guys. So the question to me comes down to 2 things. A, does Joel Embiid miss games? Because that's a problem. If he ends up missing games, that's a real problem. B, we know for a fact the Knicks do not have anybody, Mitchell Robinson, size-wise and movement-wise, kind of, but he's also a liability on offense, so then you got to weigh that, balance.
Well, like in the last night, they were actually taking him out for whole stretches so they couldn't just foul him.
Right, exactly. That's my point. Is so you kind of have to balance that.
Yep.
And he's even remotely the only guy that you can even try to throw at Embiid, and if Embiid's on, even that's not going to work.
Which is funny because he's a fun player to watch,
Sure.
but he can't hit the outside of a barn at the free throw line.
Yeah, but we know for a fact that the Knicks don't have anybody to throw at Embiid. So the question then becomes, really, again, like I said, the first question, does Joel play every game? Second question, does he beat himself? Right? Like, because we know that the Knicks cannot beat him, right? One-on-one matchup wise, individually wise, his performance, they cannot beat him. So the question is, does Joel Embiid beat himself? Does Joel Embiid consistently provide for the Sixers the matchup nightmare mismatch that they need to be able to beat this Knicks team? And it's just tough. I don't know that I can consistently
The
say
coaching matters here too, right?
Absolutely.
Right now in this series, you should not start an offensive possession where Embiid doesn't start with the ball.
Yeah.
It should be an inside-out game big time.
Absolutely. Especially with the
Because
shooters
they
you got
cannot
around him.
stop
You're
him on
talking
the post.
Paul George, Maxey, all these guys. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I agree with that. So, and Nick Nurse is a phenomenal coach, and we know that, right? He's got a ring, and he's great. I really, it's brutal. This is really brutal.
It's hard. Like I said, it's the hardest one to pick because this is not the team we saw play for the 76ers all year.
I'm going to go I'm gonna go Knicks in 7, and Brunson hits a
I agree
shot.
with you. If it goes 7, the Knicks will win. They won't go into MSG and win a game
Oh
7.
no, I
That place will.
absolutely believe that the Sixers can win Game 7 in MSG. I'm gonna pick Knicks in 7. Brunson hits a shot at the end, and I don't love that pick. I don't. I
I
don't.
mean,
I don't love it.
I don't hate it. It's a hard one.
Game
But I'm
one,
gonna go out
game
on a
one
limb.
was
I'm going
brutal.
out on a limb. Yeah. I'm
Game
going
one
out on
was
a limb saying 76ers in 6.
I like that from you. I like that a lot more than whatever the hell I just said. But I'm gonna go Knicks in 7. Because I'm a scaredy cat, I guess. I don't know. We're gonna
Look,
say
I will
game
I will
game
say
one was
everything said and done, everything that we just said, I think your pick's still the safe one.
game one was brutal. Game 2 through 7, I don't expect that. I expect
I don't
bangers.
either.
I think they're going to
I
be
don't.
very close, very hotly contested, very good games.
It's going to be
Maybe
the best series
agreed. Maybe
of the
maybe we
5,
get
I think.
maybe we get one game in Philly where they come out hot and then the Knicks lose by 15 or 20. I doubt it, but
Could.
maybe. But other than that, every game's going to be close. Every game's going to be close. It's going to be hotly contested. Even if it ends up in like the Knicks win in 5, right? Every game's going to be close. Like this series is going to be fun. Again, under the assumption Joel Embiid plays, right?
It's going to be the best series of this round.
I think so, but I think every series
Well,
other
I
than
say that. The
every
Timberwolves first, so be great.
every series other than ours, I expect to be really good and go long. I expect all of them to go 6 or 7.
The only
Other,
intriguing thing that could happen in our series is if the Lakers somehow pull off a game.
sure,
I don't think they will, but it could.
right. So I mean that's I'm really
I do
excited
want to
about these
point
second
out
round matchups,
that in the fourth quarter, the Lakers have taken one more free throw than we have. I just want to point it out.
and that's without the guy that takes the most free throws
That's
in the
without
game
the
in the
league
league.
leader in free throw attempts in Luka.
Yeah. The only other thing I will say is that I'm just very excited about this second round. I think it's great, and I also think depending on who comes out of the second round on the other side, like if the Wolves come out of the second round, we saw that series last year, right? There's a real world where we can be talking
We
about the
saw
Thunder.
that, but they had DiVincenzo last year, and they had a fully healthy Ant.
Right. What I'm saying is, if that ends up being who we play, again, the momentum's there. They're hot. I get it. But again, they're not healthy either. That we could be talking about, and I don't want to get hyperbolic or insane or whatever. We could be talking about the Thunder going into the finals as an undefeated team or a one-loss team, which has only happened a couple times ever. So it could get really interesting depending on matchup.
Yeah,
Now, again,
you're
that
right.
changes a lot if we play the Spurs because I still
I'm
expect to beat
I'm not
them.
about to sit here and predict that we go 12-0 into the finals, but I do think we're going to go 8-0.
Sure, but the optimal idea is there, especially considering in the playoffs we would have said heading into the playoffs we would have said no way because we're playing for sure either the Spurs or the Nuggets in the conference finals. So like no way we don't lose a couple games there, right? But if it's the Wolves, we've got their number.
Look,
We know that recipe.
the other thing too is I believe the Timberwolves Spurs series we already know is going to go 5. I think at minimum it's going to go 6. I don't see a world where the Timberwolves don't at least get one at home.
It's going to go
Right?
long.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so we're going to be resting again. So you'll
I mean,
have a beat up Timberwolves teams. If they get through it, they're going to be beat up. We're going to be rested. I bet J-Dub's back for that series. If it's the Spurs, they're going to go at least 6, right? They're going to be a little beat up. Wemby's going to be playing lots of minutes. It certainly bodes well for us, right? Especially as long as we get through this in 4. I'm not worried about rust. I think we've had a little bit in this game, but we're starting to get all the rust knocked off here in the second half. Because rust really is just about the shooting, right?
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
defense is always going to be there. So as you said earlier, so I do think the 2 best series in this round is definitely Timberwolves Spurs and Knicks 76ers. Those 2
Don't
are
sleep
really
on
hard.
Cavs Pistons either, though. That'll be a fun series too.
No, I think it will be fun. I think it will be fun. If the Pistons go up 2-0, I don't know. But
I just don't see them going into Cleveland and winning a game. I really don't. So
maybe not. I mean, they've been showing their youth. They showed it in the Orlando series. Give them credit for bouncing out and really destroying them in Game 7. But I don't know. It's going to be fun. I think I think the Timberwolves Spurs is more fun than the Nuggets Spurs would have been, I think. Um,
I disagree.
also, I just think the Timberwolves are unique. You do uniquely match up against the Spurs very well. They're a big team. You got Gobert. Like they are one of the better matchup problems for the Spurs there is left in the playoffs for sure.
I think it's definitely up there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's all we got really. I did want to
All on the
briefly
socials.
mention one last thing, which
Yeah.
shockingly in the month of May, with NBA playoff basketball on, is the absolute most peak cinema thing I've seen in a while, on TV. It was more entertaining and better than anything that this playoffs has provided so far, actually,
Okay.
which is wild. Do you know the name Rick Devens?
Rick Devens?
You might not.
I don't think so.
Okay, so Rick Devens was a contestant in the season Edge of Extinction of Survivor. Okay,
I haven't watched that in quite some time. But
I'm aware, but
was that the
you
current season or something? Or
no, Edge of Extinction was probably like 10 or 15 years ago,
oh,
ish.
then I might know that name. I mean,
Right, that's why I was saying you might.
I was watching it back then.
Right,
I don't
that's why I'm
remember.
saying. This season is season 50 of Survivor, called In the Hands of the Fans. They basically,
Okay.
CBS had a lot of like fans like vote. They took polls on how they wanted the season to kind of play out. It's the biggest season ever. They've got 24 contestants this season, which has never been done. And there have been some crazy twists and stuff, all that kind of stuff. They're now down to 9 left, I think. Anyways, they're all returning players, obviously,
Ron
because
just
it's
gave Caruso a bloody lip.
yeah, I saw that. But because
Or no, sorry.
yeah, because it's season 50, so it's a big deal. They're all returning players. They're all like fan favorite players, and
Okay.
Rick Devens is one of them.
Okay.
So they had a vote. One of the votes was, do the fans want to see major twists in the game? And it was like 80-something% of fans said yes, obviously, right? So the biggest twist I've ever seen in Survivor, right? Crazy stuff, was, Mr. Beast, right?
Yep.
They've had several cameos from like famous people, right? Like the idols in this season are called the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol. So if somebody finds
Okay.
it, they have to send it to somebody else on a different beach from a
Okay.
different tribe. And basically, if they get voted out with it in their pocket, it boomerangs back to the person that found it originally. Anyways, so that's a twist. Jimmy Fallon had an adventure that he planned for one of the guys that actually ended up getting him voted out. It was kind of crazy. But anyways, so the most recent turn was Mr. Beast made an appearance in the last episode. Okay. Absolutely absurd. Rick Devens on this 10-person tribe post merge was at the bottom, and people were about to vote him out because he'd done some crazy stuff, and I really find it fun, but he had done some crazy stuff. And so what happened was they were like, okay, so we've got this Mr. Beast extreme beware advantage, and Jeff said, we'll tell you what the advantage is at tribal, right? So Mr. Beast comes out
We
with a
know
brief.
who has it. This other guy has it, or we
Has
don't
what?
know that yet. The advantage.
So that's
McCain 2 threes in a row, baby.
So that's the biggest part of the advantage. Nobody has it. And Jeff says that he'll unveil it at Tribal. Okay.
Got it.
So they get to Tribal. 10 people left. Rick is on the bottom. He might go home. He might not. Obviously, you know how it is. There's always stuff floating.
Yeah. Yeah. They're always also keeping certain things from you. They don't show they try to lead you a direction for
Right.
sure. Yeah.
Mr. Beast comes out, unveils this briefcase with the advantage. And the advantage in the briefcase is a coin. Okay.
Okay.
One side has the Mr. Beast logo. One side has torches. Okay. And Jeff says, here's the advantage. Somebody here will have to flip this coin. You call it which side you think it's going to land on. If you're right, the pot doubles thanks to Mr. Beast donating.
You mean the $2 million?
From $1 to $2 million.
Okay.
On top of that, the person that flips the coin, safe from elimination in that vote. And on top of that, third thing, gets to walk out of tribal with an idol. But if you call it and you lose,
you're out.
There's no vote. You go home. 50-50. And so everybody's like, so how do we decide?
You take a chance.
So everybody's like, well, but obviously it wasn't 100%. It was probably less than 50% chance that he's going home. You know what I mean? But that gives him a 50% chance that he's going home. Anyways, they're like, so how do we decide? And they're like, you can agree or we'll draw rocks. And Devins was like, I'll do it. And he's like, I'm here for chaos. I'm on the bottom. Like, let me do it. And everybody, because there was this potential that he's going home and he could get safe and have this major advantage of also walking out with an idol, there were a couple people that were like, should we even let him do it? And Jeff was like, okay, so who else is volunteering to do it? If, and everybody else is like, well, I don't want a 50-50 shot at going home. So he does it, calls it, and wins. Craziest, most peak, shout out Rick Devins, most peak cinema thing I've ever watched in my life.
So you increased the pot.
He increased the pot by $1 million.
Right.
Was safe in tribal from the vote that night.
Walked out with an idol.
Absurd. What's really funny about that is the reason that he was kind of on the bottom was a couple tribals ago, he was in danger of going home. But at the beginning of the season, he had pretended to fall over at tribal and planted a fake idol at tribal council. And then a couple times ago, whenever he was about to go home, he went over there and was like, oh yeah, I had a hint to a clue to an idol that's here at tribal, so I might as well just go pick it up now. And goes and picks up this fake idol, so then they don't vote him out. And then this time he goes to tribal and actually gets a real idol. Crazy stuff, man. Anyways, very entertaining. Shout out CBS, the production team. Survivor's great. So that's all I got.
So
it's so much fun. Anyways,
all right.
That's all I got.
Some the ticks, the talks.
Yep.
The
Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Sorry we didn't get a video out last week.
Become our 100th subscriber, and you can watch us for free the next week.
We didn't get a video out to you last week, but we're back normal schedule this week. So like, comment, subscribe, follow us on all the socials at Gen Beef Pod. You know what to do. We out. Peace.
Peace.